India has banned the broadcasting of a controversial documentary about the December 2012 gang rape of a young student. Another documentary shows Mukesh Singh, one of 5 men convicted over the attack in New Delhi, blaming the victim.
A teenager was brutally raped by 5 men on a moving bus on the streets of New Delhi. And what followed was for the whole world to see. A day after a blanket ban was imposed by the Indian government on the telecast of the controversial December 16 gang rape documentary, India's Daughter, the BBC went ahead to air the film in the United Kingdom and other countries in the early hours of Thursday. This after Indian government banned the broadcast in India.
It has come to notice that on March 8, 2015, BBC 4 is going to telecast this documentary film. The government has taken necessary legal action and obtained a restraining order from the court disseminating the contents of the film. Our government condemns the incident of 16 December 2012 in the strongest possible terms and will not allow any attempt by any individual, group or organization to leverage such unfortunate incidents for commercial benefits.
One of the 4 men sentenced to death for the high-profile gang rape was interviewed for the documentary India's Daughter, meant to be shown on Sunday. In response to the widespread protests, India's government rushed through legislation doubling prison terms for rapists to 20 years and criminalizing voyeurism, stalking and the trafficking of women. The 4 adults who went to trial confessed to the attack but later retracted their confessions, saying they had been tortured into admitting their involvement. Legal appeals against the death sentences are pending in the country's Supreme Court. Bureau Report, Ann7.
Now, earlier, my colleague spoke to renowned Indian journalists to explain to us why the Indian government has banned the documentary. Take a look.
We're going to talk about the documentary India's Daughter, but if you could take our viewers back to the time of the rape and describe what India was like then.
Look, the rape took place on the most infamous December 16 now in India's history. Because it's now called the December 16 rape, because you cannot mention a rape victim's name under Indian law. India was sort of in a volatile state at that point, particularly the cities in India, because there was great impatience with the way the government had become weak, the central government. Government was in a kind of paralysis. Prime Minister did not have sufficient authority. There was confusion within his party. And people saw that paralysis affect their lives in many ways. And when government becomes so ineffective, it becomes very difficult for an aspirational, growing society to deal with it, or to accept it, or to tolerate it. It was okay when India was not growing, when people were resigned to their fate, not now, particularly in our cities. So in a way, this was India's first urban uprising, and it took place in India's largest city of Delhi, largest and the most powerful city and the most pampered city. Because people said if this could happen in Delhi, that too to somebody who looked, dressed, talked like us, somebody who was out to watch a movie with a boyfriend, a young working woman who's also studying. She used to work at a call center at night, study in daytime, from a very poor family. She was financing her studies. It was, to a lot of people, it looked like she could be one of theirs. And that's what led to this outrage. Plus, of course, the manner of the rape, the gang rape and the brutality, not just the murder, but the brutalization, it just shook everybody.
Talk to us about why India's Daughter was banned in India.
Well, it's the most idiotic thing our government has done. Because they also banned it after the whole world had seen it on YouTube. and BBC will show it nevertheless, because, you know, BBC lives in their own sovereign world, not ours. I think all that, and frankly, it's quite it's a patronizing film. I've seen it. It's patronizing. It's a little bit boring and cliched, but it's nothing offensive. You may say, oh, who are these guys to tell us we are patriarchal, but we are patriarchal. There are some generalizations, but that is, you know, if you started banning films or documentaries on the basis of generalizations or even exaggerations, then all of Bollywood will have to be banned, right? So beyond that, I don't see how this film could have hurt India's interests in any way. It's just that some TV channels made a lot of noise because some other TV channels, rival TV channels, got rights to this film. Yeah. So the others made it a big issue. Nirbhaya. Nirbhaya is a sort of notional name given to this girl. It's a fictional name. Nirbhaya insulted. I think they started a hashtag. So this became a kind of hashtag outrage in a section of conservative India. But I would say that 99%, at least from my timeline on Twitter, I could see 99% of the people most outraged about this film were Indian men, because this film in many ways holds a mirror to them. Because if the rapists themselves, who are on the death row, are saying, look, the girl was responsible for what happened to her, and our advice is to a woman is when she's being raped, she should not resist. Because if she had not resisted or fought back, we would not have killed her. Right? So, so this, I think, a lot of Indian men, I'm sure they secretly say this, and many of them say it not so secretly. There was a need to be going out that night. Why did they enter a bus in which there were no other passengers? Why was she dressed in jeans?
Okay.
Right? If you go out for a movie on a weekend night, then you either have a car of your own or hire a rickshaw. So a lot of that stuff is said by people to sort of not justify a rape, but to explain rape.
Mm-hmm. What role does the media play in balancing this narrative that you're speaking about, where it needs to be happening?
So the media in India is usually very liberal, very politically correct. Media as well as, I would say, even Bollywood. It speaks for equality, and it speaks for the underdog. So I think there was an element of voyeurism in the way media covered it. There was also an element of exaggeration. There was also an element of lynch mob bloodthirstiness. That who are these boys? Just hang them now. Hang them in public from a pole, electric pole. There is no need for a trial. And quite frankly, media would not have taken that view if these were boys from good, rich families, well-dressed boys from rich families. These are also very poor boys, dregs of the society from a slum in Delhi who got drunk. And they were just expendable in terms of Indian middle classes and upper classes point of view. So I think part of the discourse did become illiberal. Castrate them, hang them, why are you taking so long, right? Whereas some of us said that, look, in any case, you cannot dispense with due process. Mm-hmm. Everybody must get the benefit of due process.
Thank you very much for speaking to us on Ann7.
Thank you, Zinga.